Are we unmuted there? Okay, wonderful. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Intermountain Tribal and Rural Opioid Wellness Summit Lunch Hour activities. We're excited to be here with you guys today. This session is titled Simple Start with MyPlate Rainbow Wraps Lunch and is presented by myself, Cara Murray, USU Create Better Health Ambassador, and Ashley Linschoten, USU Extension Program Coordinator. We are available in the chat box at any time during this presentation as well.
Okay, so before we get started, we do have a few housekeeping reminders. So this breakout session, like all the other sessions of the summit, are being recorded, and some content may be reproduced or broadcasted at a later time. So if for any reason you prefer to remain anonymous, you'll just need to follow these following actions now. And they are also posted in the chat if you wanted to look at it there. But so first of all, click the three dots that are in the top right-hand corner of your participant panel, and then choose change profile name and edit your name to something that's non-identifiable to you. And then make sure your video is also off. So just the little camera icon down at the bottom left, just make sure there's a red diagonal line through that, and then we won't be able to see you. So if you need any assistance with this process or anything, you can message me directly. And this will just be in the chat box, and you'll just open the drop-down list and start typing my name. And it's Ashley Linschoten. I know that last name's kind of hard, but just if you start typing it, it should just come up. And so this will send me a direct private message. And also everyone is automatically muted for this. So to ask a question, just use the raise your hand function, and or you can type it in the chat box, and we will be able to unmute you, and you can ask your question if you'd like to do that. So let's go ahead, we'll introduce ourselves. So I'll introduce Cara. So she is our Uinta County Create Better Health Ambassador. So she loves having a job that allows her to teach healthy diet and lifestyle practices. She's always had a passion for learning about nutrition, and so now Cara has the opportunity to share that knowledge with the community. She's excited about growing in this position and reaching out to more people through changing policies and community work. So Cara lives in La Pointe, Utah with her husband and her two kids, and they actually run a cattle ranch out there, and it keeps them really busy. She says it's hard work, but a great life. And she also enjoys trail running and hiking, just really any activity that is outside, and also kind of why she enjoys the ranching life, because it's hard work and there's sunshine. So she just loves that. And also a fun fact about her is that she ran the 2017 Boston Marathon. So that's pretty cool. So that's Cara for you.
Thanks for the introduction, Ashley. Okay, my turn to introduce you. Ashley is the program coordinator for USU Extension here in Uinta County. She has a bachelor's degree in community nutrition and is currently working toward her master's in public health nutrition. She has a passion for teaching the importance of a healthy lifestyle while also maintaining balance and enjoying food. She loves being outside with her two young boys and her husband, hiking, running, and looking for dinosaur fossils. Those little boys, I'm sure, love dinosaurs. While she loves being active, she also enjoys occasionally just hanging out and especially watching NBA games. Of course, the Utah Jazz with her husband and her kids. So that's Ashley. A quick reminder, I had mentioned it in the main page that the Goose Chase is now open. It really is a lot of fun. We're going to be sharing a couple of the mission answers here in this presentation. So watch for those if you have joined the Goose Chase. Okay, before we get started on our lunch, we kind of want to do a quick MyPlate lesson, get everybody familiar with the food groups and the amounts that we should be having per day so we don't have any nutritional deficiencies. And then we're going to make a really delicious wrap for everybody. Steal that MyPlate from you. Thanks. So this is MyPlate. I'm sure most people have seen this. We see it at schools a lot in the lunchroom. I've seen it at hospitals, kind of community buildings. You might find this. It was developed as an easy way to follow the dietary guidelines. The food groups that make up MyPlate work together to provide the nutrients that our bodies need. I've often heard the term overfed and undernourished. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but it's kind of used a lot to describe people's diet. And that is the result of eating too many overly processed or nutrient void foods. By following the MyPlate recommendation and eating whole fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and low fat and low sugar dairy, we are assuring that we are going to be avoiding those nutrient deficiencies, and we're eating foods that are really nutrient dense, that are good for us, and they also taste great as well. So that's a little about MyPlate, the concepts, and Ashley's going to kind of break down each of the food groups. Within the summit information, you should have received a few handouts. One of them would be the MyPlate, My Wins. So Ashley's going to go over that for us.
Okay, so yeah, like Cara said, we're just going to go through each of these different food groups and talk about, the benefits of getting all of these food groups, and also talk about daily serving recommendations and also serving equivalents. And so just keep in mind that when we talk about this, that it's going to be different for everyone. I'm going to give general recommendations based on pretty much a 2,000 calorie diet, but you might need more or less depending on your calorie needs. And so one really great resource for that is if you go to myplate.gov, you can do a short little quiz that will ask you just kind of about your stage of life and how active you are, just a few questions like that. And it will determine how many calories you need. And then it will also break down these food groups based on how many you would need to fill those calories. So that might be something that you would want to do, after we're done with our presentation here. So, so to get started, if you notice on the plate, half of our plate is supposed to be fruits and vegetables. And not a lot of Americans are getting that, to be honest. A lot of us are failing in that. So basically, let's start with fruits. They have kind of a different slogan that goes with each of the different food groups. So with fruits, they say focus on fruits. And that just means let's try to implement more fruits into our diet every day, because a lot of people aren't. But really, with fruits, they are a pretty easy thing to eat for the most part. All you have to do is wash it and eat it. There's not a lot of preparation that has to happen. So it can be really easy to, incorporate into your meals or use for snacks and things like that. And some people think that canned or frozen fruits aren't as high quality as fresh, which is actually not true. They are picked, at their peak of their ripeness, and they're processed, either into the can or frozen. And so they have the same nutrient profile as the fresh will. And, in places like Utah, where we don't get great produce during the winter, that's a great option. And also they're more expensive when they're not in season as well. So that's a great option to save money on fruits and vegetables, but still getting them year round. But just with those, just watch for any added sugars or salts that they may add during processing, because that kind of negates all of the good things that fruits have in them. And so it is generally recommended to get about 2 cups of fruits every single day. And so with most fruits and vegetables, you can just measure out a 1 cup measuring cup. If it's chopped up or something like an apple, you just want to do a small apple. If it's strawberries, you can do about 8 of those, and that would be considered a cup. And then for something like juice, now a lot of people want to just use all of their servings of fruit from juice, which if it's 100% juice, it does count as a serving of fruit. But the difference is that it won't have the fiber as the full fruit. And fiber is one of the reasons why the fruit group is such a great choice. And so, so you don't want to choose all of your servings of fruit to come from juice, but maybe a half of a serving or 1 serving. That works great as long as it's 100% juice. But keep in mind, don't drink all of it from, juice. Don't get all of your servings. So then moving on to vegetables, the slogan that they use for that one is bury your veggies. And what they mean by that is the color of the vegetables will indicate the nutrients that are in that food. And there's a lot of them in there, but they're not going to have all of them. So for instance, broccoli is a great choice, right? It's a good source of vitamin C. It's a great source of calcium, but it's not going to have the same nutrients as a carrot, which is, great with vitamin A and beta carotene. So it's good to try to get a good variety of them so that you're getting all of those different nutrients that are offered in that food. And same thing with vegetables, as I said with fruits, that canned and frozen are great options as well. And so for vegetables, it's recommended you get about 2.5 cups of fruits and of vegetables. And so again, 1 cup chopped of any vegetable is pretty much, an equivalent to 1 cup serving. But one difference is something like lettuce or spinach or kind of those leafy greens. It's recommended to try to get 2 cups to equal a 1 cup serving of your vegetables. There's just not a lot in there. They're pretty low in calorie. They're pretty low, so if you get 2 cups, then it will equal to 1 of your cups servings. But with fruits and vegetables, so these, I said the 2 cups for fruits and the 2.5 cups for vegetables, that's just like the minimum. If you get more, then that's great. And that's actually recommended. So the USDA has said that try to get 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day in order to, get all of those nutrients. They are so great for warding off any diseases and sicknesses, cancers, with those antioxidants in there. They're really important. So getting 5 to 9 servings is really the ideal situation there.
Ashley, is that a Goose Chase question?
I think it is.
I think it might be.
I think it is.
5 to 9
there you go.
servings.
You guys got a bonus. We gave you that one. So then the next one we're going to talk about is grains. And the slogan they use for that one is make half of your grains whole grains. And so what that is just saying basically is that we need to try to get as many of our grain servings from a whole source rather than a refined source. So a refined is any of our white breads, white rice. And what they do with that is that they process the whole wheat into, or whatever it is, rice, they take away the bran and the germ, which will just leave the endosperm. And with that goes a lot of the fiber, which, as you notice, the first 3 groups are really great sources of fiber, which is really important for our diet. So, keep that in mind. And so with the white, it strips that away. So it removes a lot of the fiber, a lot of the iron, a lot of other B vitamins. And so it's taking away a lot of the good stuff. And so if you try to make half of your grains whole grains, then you'll be getting those into your diet, which is really important. Okay.
A good way that I found to get more whole grains is by making cookies or something like a sweet treat, to use half of the whole wheat and half white. That way my kids don't notice any different taste, kind of until they get used to that more nutty flavor. I love whole grains because they are more nutty.
Yeah.
But that's a good little trick to do, is to sub out if you're only using white flour. Start slow, start small, and start subbing in a little bit of that whole grain flour. Boost the nutrients up that way.
That's a great tip. So yeah, use that one because that's awesome, especially for people who aren't used to eating whole wheat flour or just the whole wheat stuff. And what you want to look for. So commercial manufacturers of products, that sell wheat or anything that's considered a grain product, they're really good at tricking people. So they'll use words like multigrain or cracked wheat or 7 grain, or they'll even dye it brown using molasses and things like that. But it might just be a refined grain that has been processed. So what you really want to do is look at the ingredients list, and very first should say the word whole. It should say whole wheat or whole grain, or whole rice, brown rice, whatever the product is, it should say the word whole, and it should be probably the number 1 ingredient, which is the very first one. So look for that. Don't let them trick you because they're good at that. So it's recommended that you try to get about 5 ounces of whole grains a day, not whole grains necessarily, if you at least make half of them whole grains. And I know for me, I don't really think in ounces, I don't really know how much that is. So to get a complete list, myplate.gov does have some recommendations there. So you can look there to see kind of how much an ounce would be to consider a serving. But in general, a slice of bread would be considered 1 ounce serving, or 5 whole grain crackers would be considered a serving. But something interesting is that like a normal size, a regular size bagel, some people might think that's 1 serving. It's not, it's 4. So that is almost your entire day's worth of grains that you need in that day in that 1 bagel. So be mindful about what you're eating, because it's possible that foods that we eat all the time can be way higher in servings than we think they are. So it's easy to overdo it. Okay, then the next one is the protein group. And what they say with that one is go lean with protein. So basically try to pick the leaner, lower fat versions. And that's really great for our heart health. And so that's why they recommend that. So any poultry, or, you can do beef, but there's the lower cut versions. lower fat cuts is what I'm meaning, seafood, things like that. And so, and you can see how, I bring up this group and I instantly start bringing up the meat, but that's not how it is. There's a lot of other sources of proteins that don't include meat. So things like beans or lentils, nuts, seeds, those all fit into this group. And those will be going lean with protein as well. So those are great options when you want to kind of cut down on the meat, which I think we all could do, right? So, okay. And so, like I mentioned, a lot of Americans get way high in this group. Like it's kind of crazy. So, have you ever gone into a restaurant and ordered a steak or seen on their list of steaks and they're over 20 ounces of steak and just one piece of meat? Well, the recommendation that you need is only 5.5 ounces of this group for your entire day. So if you think about it, that is almost 4 times the amount that you need in that one meal. So it's easy to overdo it on this group, and we should be trying to scale back a little bit. And so basically, oh, and what I did want to mention, okay, never mind. So I'll just go into the kind of the ounce equivalents, because 5.5 ounces, again, that's kind of a hard thing to picture in our brain. But another way that people commonly overdo it is with like things like nut butters, like peanut butter. So if you can see this tablespoon right here, that is considered a 1 ounce serving of peanut butter. And so that's not very much, honestly, when you think about it. That's a pretty small little, and so it's easy to overdo it with peanut butter as well. Okay, and then,
I was just going to mention a great tip that I just thought of as far as measuring protein. About the size of your palm is 3 ounces. So if you're eating a hamburger or a chicken breast, you can kind of measure it as the size of your palm. You're getting about 3 ounces. 1 egg is 1 ounce. I love eggs. They have healthy fats. They've got protein. They're tasty. They're inexpensive. So 1 egg equals 1 ounce.
perfect.
Another easy way.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also been mentioned that a pack of cards is also about that same size. So if you have really big hands, then that might be an easier one to look at a pack of cards. And that's another way to look at about 3 ounces of a serving. So try not to overdo it with this one. Okay, and then the last group is the dairy group. And this one, their slogan isn't very cute or anything, but just says move to low fat or fat-free milk or yogurt. So just remember that. It doesn't have a cute way to remember that, but just, remember to try to do that. So basically with this group, these are foods that have, they're made from milk and they have a high calcium content. And but there are people out there who are lactose intolerant, or maybe they're vegan and choose not to consume dairy products. And so there are other options where you can still get that calcium that you need, but you don't need to get it from milk necessarily. So there's different kinds of milks that aren't cow's milk, like soy milk or almond milk, rice milk, coconut milk. There's even lactose-free milk, which has kind of a similar taste to just the regular milk, but they've just been able to remove the lactose from it, which is what causes people with lactose intolerance to respond to that. And there's also vegetables that contain calcium. A lot of our leafy green vegetables like spinach or bok choy, turnip greens, those are also great sources of calcium as well if you don't want to or can't have dairy products. And so with this group, it's recommended that you try to get 3 cups every single day. And so for most things, like a cup of milk, a cup of yogurt will equal a 1 cup serving. Cheese is a little bit different. So for like shredded cheese, you'd want 1/3 of a cup. You don't need as much of that as you would for milk. So 1/3 of a cup equals a 1 cup serving of this group. Ricotta cheese, it's had a lot of the moisture removed, so you only need 1/2 of a cup for it to equal a 1 cup serving. And then cottage cheese has a lot of liquid in it, so you'd need 2 cups for it to equal a 1 cup serving. I don't know about you. I don't know if I could eat 2 cups of cottage cheese, but it's okay to break it up throughout the day. But 2 cups of cottage cheese does sound like a little bit much. And one question I get a lot of is, what about butter or cream cheese? Do those fall into this group? And the answer I give is technically no, they do not. So they're made the same way, but in order to get the amount of calcium that you would need, or that you would get from a cup of milk, you'd have to eat a lot of butter and a lot of cream cheese, and you're likely not going to be able to stay within your calorie needs by using those as a serving. So they do not count those as a serving of this group. So yeah, I think that was great. That's all of them.
That was great. Thank you. Another tip would be to hang this My Plate, My Wins, put it on your fridge. And that will be a great reminder. Are you getting the food groups? Is half of your plate fruits and veggies? Just a great way to keep it simple. Another tip I have is when you're shopping at the grocery store, I like to start in the produce and work my way around the store before I hit those middle aisles. On the outside is where we're going to find our fruits, our vegetables, our eggs, our dairy, all of the whole foods. When you get to that inside, that's when it can be a little dangerous, especially if you're hungry. You'll find all the overly processed foods that sound quick and convenient and tasty, but don't go to the store hungry. There's another one for you. But I like to start on the outside and kind of get all of the necessities and then work my way in. And then that's where you're going to find your beans and your rice and the canned fruits and vegetables. So grocery shopping tip for you. Okay, I think we are ready to make our wrap. So we're going to use the creates concept. So here we have the create or sandwich or a wrap. I love the creates concept because it's just based on what you have on hand or what you have available to you. If you don't have a wrap, do you have whole grain bread? Do you have a roll? Do you have any type of starch that you can use, as a bun, something to hold this all together? So we're going to start with step one here. We're going to pick our grains. We're going to use these sun-dried tomato wraps that we found. We chose those because they were a little bit bigger, and we're going to be cutting this into many slices, but we've also got these whole wheat tortillas here that could be used. So again, pick what you have on hand or what's available to you. Next, we're going to choose the protein. Do you want turkey? Do you want ham? Do you want chicken, some type of cooked lean meat? But again, just like Ashley said, there's also plant sources. And so we are going to use hummus. Hummus is delicious. It's made of chickpeas. You can make it your own by yourself very easily. You can also buy it. It's fairly inexpensive. So we went with the roasted garlic hummus just to give us a little more flavor. This is going to give us protein, but it's also going to create some moisture in our wrap. So going back to calorie counts, mayonnaise is 100 calories in just 1 tablespoon. Mayonnaise is fat. You're not getting protein, you're not getting carbohydrates, you're not really getting many nutrients. You're getting a lot of fat and a lot of calories. With hummus, we've got chickpeas and then the seasonings and soybean oil. Even though it has soybean oil, that's not the main ingredient here. So we're looking at 35 calories in a tablespoon, plus a ton of flavor that it's going to add, plus the protein, like I said. So we're doing hummus. If you wanted to do maybe a little hummus, a less amount to use as your spread and then include a lean protein, that's amazing too. Again, use what you have on hand. And then we're going to go with our fillings. Today, we're going to be doing the rainbow wraps. This recipe is from createbetterhealth.org, which is full of some amazing recipes. So be sure to check out that blog. But we're doing a rainbow wrap. So we're doing a rainbow of veggies. And bury your veggies. That's right. So we'll get started. You can make a cold wrap. You can make a warm wrap, whatever sounds good to you. Today, we're going to be doing a cold wrap. Like I said, we found these tortillas yesterday at our local grocery store. There's also those flatbreads. There's many whole grain varieties. There's a little icon put on the front of the packages that says 100% whole grain. Unfortunately, our whole wheat tortillas didn't have it, so we couldn't show you, but that's an easy way, or just look for the word whole. Just like Ashley said, there's a lot of trickery that goes around with labels. But one thing that cannot be changed is the ingredients that you're going to read on the back of the label. there can be no discrepancies there. The USDA makes certain that everything on the label is what's actually in the product. So if you can get yourself familiar with checking labels, that's a great way to know exactly what you're finding in your food products that you're purchasing. So again, we've got the hummus here, and the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon. I'm actually not even going to use that much. I don't think that we need it. I'm just going to kind of do a big teaspoon here and spread it right down the middle. If you've never tried hummus, it's definitely something that I would encourage you to look for. It's amazing just as a veggie dip, but I'm excited to try it in this wrap as well. Next, we've got some raw spinach leaves. Spinach is a leafy green. So like Ashley said, you know, it's got a lot of volume. So if you are using it as a veggie serving, 2 cups is actually equivalent to 1 serving of leafy greens. I love adding spinach to smoothies. Spinach is so nutrient dense. It's great. When I'm teaching at the schools, I ask the kids if they know who the Incredible Hulk is. And the reason that he's green, I tell them is because he eats a lot of spinach. I don't know if they believe me, but we're going to go with a red bell pepper. They actually had these on sale yesterday at our local store. If your store has a reduced section for the produce, it may be produce that's getting, you know, close to being overly ripe, or it may have an imperfection or 2 on it. I shop that section all the time, and I find some really, really great deals. Just because it doesn't look as beautiful or it needs to be used quicker does not mean that it's got any less nutrition. So we're doing some big, beautiful red.
And stores
peppers
are really quick to put things in that section because, you know, they want it to sell, they want it to be pretty. And so it is usually a great option. Oh, look how good this is looking.
We're going to add a little bit of carrots there. We've got some purple cabbage. Cabbage is a great option instead of using lettuce. It's got more nutrients. Look at that vibrant purple color. It's beautiful. Plus it gives a little crunch. I really like that little crisp aspect to it. So we're going to add avocado as well. Avocado is a mono unsaturated fat, which is known as a healthy fat. So the fats that we kind of want to limit or avoid would be trans fats, definitely, and saturated fat. Mono unsaturated fat actually helps raise our good cholesterol, so it's heart healthy. It tastes amazing. And again, as an option for like a mayonnaise, it makes a great substitute. Let me show you my trick here. So I cut it in half, and then with this pit, I'm just gonna stab my knife into it and give it just a little turn. There you go.
Easy peasy.
Easy.
Doesn't have to be hard.
And then I just kind of sliced it, and I'm going to use my spoon because that's an easy way to get it out. And I'm only going to use 1/4 of this avocado. Because avocado is a high fat, it does have more calories. So I think 1/4 would be perfect for the wrap that we've got today. Now, if you want any spices on this, you can add it. We went with the sun-dried tomato wraps, so I think we're good. What do you think?
I think that sounds good.
I think so too. So the recipe that everybody received calls for green goddess dressing. If you've never had green goddess, I love it. It's one of my favorites. It's a creamy dressing, so it can be very, very high in calories. We wanted to avoid that. So we went with a yogurt-based 45 calories. Again, we found it at our local grocery store. If you don't have this, you can really use any kind of dressing that you prefer. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit inside of our wrap here, and then we're going to put some in our container for dipping as well. Jill, I just about forgot the cheese here. Thanks, Ashley. So we went with sharp cheddar, and the reason that we chose sharp cheese is because it does have that sharp, rich flavor, so you can use less. Cheese, again, has calcium. It counts in our dairy group, but it is also high in fat and it has a really rich flavor. So really a little bit can go a long way. Thank you. We didn't want to forget that cheese there. So this wrap in itself, we've got every food group. The avocado is actually a fruit. We've got dairy, we've got protein with our hummus, and then of course, all of our veggies and our wrap. So let's get this wrapped up. So I think it would be really fun to make 3 or 4 of these. The recipe calls for 4, and then roll them up like this and slice them up and take them to like a barbecue. They'd make a great snack for kids after school. Again, they're getting all of the food groups here in this one wrap. If you do go to createbetterhealth.org, like I had mentioned, you will find these creates concepts. There's create a smoothie, create a casserole, a skillet meal. Such a great addition to the recipes that you might have at home, especially when you've cooked the same dinner over and over. I know that I always get in a rut. And so it's so nice to see that you can change things up to the flavors that sound good to you and to your family.
Look how colorful that is.
Isn't that pretty?
Pretty.
So there is our rainbow wrap lunch. We've given you guys plenty of time to definitely get some lunch yourself. If you have some veggies, if you have wraps or breads, create something different for your lunch today, and hopefully try to get all those MyPlate recommendations in. And I think we're just going to turn on some music. And
I did want to mention really quick, there is an app that is available on the USDA website. So it would, I mean, it's not the USDA website, but it's myplate.gov again. At the very bottom, there's an app that they advertise on there, and it's the Start Simple app. And it's just a really great app that the USDA actually developed, and it will make it easier to eat healthy and to get these food groups that you're wanting to get. And so it's all about creating these small daily goals that make it easier, you know, because if you decide tomorrow that you're just going to completely change your diet, you're going to eat, you know, this way, you're going to, every single day, you're going to eat like this, totally disregard everything that you've been eating in the past. And chances are you're not going to stick with it if you decide to do that. It's all about these small, simple goals that you can make every single day. And that's what the app is ultimately meant to do. So basically, if you can make small goals every day and then reach those goals, it's going to be a lot more effective than making a drastic change to your diet and only sticking to it for a month. So kind of keep that in mind. So it's called the Start Simple and it says with MyPlate, I believe it says, and it's offered on the Google Play store or the App Store on iPhone. And check it out. It's fun. I recently downloaded it myself.
So glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
I almost forgot.
And when you hit your goal for the day, it gives you prizes.
Yeah, it's
you
like
get
a
like
fun
rewards.
badge.
It's
Yeah.
really fun. And the recipes, I don't know if you've made the egg muffins. They're one of my go-to breakfasts.
So good.
I make big batches in advance, and that way they're ready in the morning. Just pop a couple in the microwave. So yeah, there's recipes on there. It's great. It's motivational. And where you pick what you want to do, if you want to start adding a vegetable in your breakfast, then it creates that goal for you.
Or use a snack with a piece of fruit or something like that.
Yeah, that's a wonderful app. I'm glad that you brought that up. And again, it's free as well.
Completely free.
Yep.
And what is also kind of nice is it has another quiz that kind of shows how you're doing with all these different food groups. And then it can link it and suggest different goals for you. But they're small so that you can make those changes and make them a part of your lifestyle. So it doesn't feel like you're dieting. It doesn't feel like anything like that. It just feels like a lifestyle change, this makes it really easy to do. So, okay. So like Cara said,
we're going to wrap it up here. There will be a little bit of time left, probably about 15 minutes before the next session starts. So we'll just turn the screen back on and we'll get some music in the background and make some lunch, and you guys step outside if you can, work on this goose chase. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's fun to see everybody's submissions. So we hope that you enjoyed today's Start Simple with MyPlate Rainbow Wraps lunch activity. This activity today was brought to you by the Utah Department of Human Services, Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health, the Rural Health Association of Utah, Utah State University, USU Emma Eccles Jones College of Education and Human Services, Department of Kinesiology and Human Sciences, USU College of Humanities and Social Sciences, USU Extension, and SAMHSA. We would love to see how everybody is practicing the concepts that you've learned today. If you post a selfie, be sure to use the hashtags. You'll find those in the chat. And yeah, we're excited to be here, and we hope everybody has a great conference. If you have any questions before we kind of sign out, be sure to put them in the chat and we will get right back to you.
And just as a reminder, the afternoon sessions do begin at 1. And the main room is available for any general summit questions to help, getting into the next session. And you can find the links to today's breakout sessions and also the main room, and those are also in the chat as well. So there you go. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, everybody.
And
We hope you have a great lunch.
Yeah, go have a good lunch and make it healthy. So
Thank you.